about water and beverages today. I just started the recording. We're going to talk about water and beverages today. And so if you remembered to bring a beverage with you that has maybe a food label on it, all I have is water with me today. But if you have something in the house or wherever you're at, juice, vitamin water, whatever it may be, why don't you go ahead and grab that? I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to get a beverage, and we'll start learning how to read labels on that. We have 2 learning modules this week. We're going to be doing learning module 5 on water, and learning module 6 on food, plate, and food labels. So 2 learning modules this week. So I'm just giving everyone a second to see if they could go ahead and grab a beverage. Can everyone see my PowerPoint? If somebody could verbally tell me.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you. So just like we went through the 7 questions for carbs, protein, fat, vitamins, and minerals, we're going to do the same thing. This is our last nutrient that we're studying, water. So we're going to talk about how much of it we need, its function. There's not really different types, but what there are different types of electrolytes that are minerals. We'll also talk a little bit of problems of too much or too little. And then we're going to talk about other beverages besides water that you guys might be drinking, and look at some of those food labels. And just so you know, the nutritionists in our textbook will recommend that the best beverage for us to be drinking is water. That's really all we really need in terms of beverages. We also get water from some of the foods we eat. So if you're someone who doesn't drink a lot, you may be thinking, wow, I'm really not getting enough. What are the problems? Well, perhaps you're getting it from the fruit or produce that you're eating. But all the other beverages out there really are not necessarily needed, but we're going to figure out what's in them and when is it a situation where a person might choose a different beverage. So let's get going with water. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, functions. So you get to see a lot of functions for water. And as you're reading through this, the different functions you see on here, we realize it does a lot in the human body, and we need to replenish this every single day. Just to point out a couple of items here, it does regulate the digestion and absorption of food. So when we're eating those macronutrients, we need the water to change that into the useful energy that it is. If we don't have enough, we can actually slow down digestion, slow down metabolism, and we wouldn't be burning as many calories as we should. And then we could run into a lot of digestive problems, one of them being constipation. All right, it also makes up our blood. Most of our blood is water. So when we look at it this way, if we're dehydrated, we don't have enough water, our blood's going to get too thick, and that's going to cause a high heart rate and high blood pressure too. So it eliminates waste, lubricates our joints, helps us maintain our normal body temperature. We need it to do any chemical reaction. I don't know why that is zooming in on me. Okay, so about 60% of your body is water. So if you think about how much you weigh right now in pounds, and you multiply that by 60, that's how much you weigh just in water weight. So if we had, I'm going to do a quick math on my calculator here. If we had a 150-pound person, they'd be about anywhere from 90 to 100 pounds of them would be water. So it's so essential that you replenish that on a daily basis. Most of us is water, what we're made of. I told you I'd talk a little bit about the electrolytes. You could see the name of the electrolyte on the left side of your screen and the amount that we would need in green font, green font, and then some sources of that in the parentheses. I don't think you have to memorize all of this. I'm just going to point out a couple of important items here. So at the top, you're going to see sodium chloride. That is our salt. And that helps us keep water in the body so we can use it. So we do need a moderate amount of salt every day. We should have that every day. And the recommendations here are 1,500 to 2,300 milligrams per day, but no more than that. And so it's a range. People who have any kind of disease like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, or overweight, they should really stay at the lower end for the salt, 1,500 milligrams per day. If you have absolutely no risk for disease and you're not overweight, you could go up to 2,300 milligrams per day for the salt, sodium and chloride. And we need that so we can hold the water and use it, right? If we just drank plain water, our body wouldn't be able to hold it inside our own body cells and use it. What would happen is we just urinate it right out. So we do have to have the salt so it stays in the body and our cells would be able to use that water. So think of sodium and chloride as keeping water in the body. On the bottom section of the screen, you see all the other ones. Think of those as allowing water to leave the body. Okay? Potassium, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium. Those things allow the water to leave so we don't have too much, right? So we don't want too much water. We don't want too little water. Okay? The most important one is probably potassium. I'm being a little biased by saying that. They're all important, but potassium really lets water out of the body if we have too much of it. So if you ever feel bloated, when would be a time we might feel bloated, like we're having too much water in the human body? You feel that way?
After eating like a really salty meal.
Yeah. I know I'm probably older than most of you. Actually, my birthday is this week. I'm turning 48, and I honestly, I could feel it more now than when I was younger. When I was in my teens and 20s, I can eat anything, didn't really feel too bad. But now, like even if I ate a pizza out, the next day my hands are swollen, I can't get my rings off, I feel, really bloated. What that means is I ate too much of the salt. So I'm holding too much water. I don't need that much, but because of the sodium, I'm holding excess water in the body. If I would eat potassium and magnesium and calcium, I let some of that water go. So it would balance itself out. Okay. I did hear a little beep. I'm on my screen share, so I don't know if somebody has their hand up or a question. I'll pause for a moment. Does someone have a question about the electrolytes? No question. Okay. So with this salt, you can see that we get it from the processed foods, right? I said eating out pizzas, eating out at restaurants. Soups have a lot of salt in them, packaged foods, canned goods. You could add too much salt if you're cooking, but I really think most of us are not. I don't think that's the excess amount we're getting salt from is us cooking at home. I think more it's the eating out, restaurants and fast food places and those pizzas and things like that. That's where we're going to get the salt from. Now, as far as the electrolytes that allow us to lose the water, as you can see here, it's all natural foods. It's our fruit and vegetables. It's beans, some dairy products, but fruits and vegetables predominantly. And I would guess if I said, where do you guys get your potassium? I bet many of you would just say bananas. But look at the other options you have here too. Any fruit or vegetable has potassium. And what I see in our society is people eating out often, eating at fast food restaurants often, and then not eating the fruits and vegetables. Okay, what would happen to their water level of their body if we were eating out fast food and then not eating the natural foods? What would happen to the water balance in our body? Go ahead, somebody answer.
It would drop?
Oh, well, our fluid balance, if we were just drinking a normal level of water and we were eating too much salt and not enough produce, what do you think would happen? What would drop?
Your vitamins and like minerals and
Well, you wouldn't be getting that potassium, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium. We would actually hold too much water. We would have too much water in the body. And when we get too much water in the body, the number one issue, besides feeling bloated, would be high blood pressure. If we have too much water. And there is something, maybe somebody could look this up for me quickly on your cell phones or on another screen on your computer. The number of people with a high blood pressure in America, it's in the millions, I would believe. I think it's something like 1/3 of Americans. I don't have the exact number. Somebody look that up and report back to us.
103 million Americans.
Oh gosh, yeah. So it is almost a third of us have high blood pressure. But it's not, don't think nutrition's the cure all. They're not all caused from poor nutrition, but I would be willing to say half of them or more. A lot of them are caused from eating this processed food and not eating the fruits and vegetables. Remember, our body is meant to eat like 50% of our food should be fruit and vegetable for many reasons, right? We talked about the electrolytes. We talked about them being nutrient dense, giving us lots of vitamins and minerals and fiber, but not a ton of calories. Okay, any questions on electrolytes? So we know how much we need. Think of the potassium, almost double the amount of than you need from salt is what you need from potassium. The other thing I wanted to mention to you guys is this calcium. Maybe you felt at one point you had like a Charlie horse where you had a cramp and it wouldn't go away. A lot of that's due to lack of calcium. And what calcium will do is once you make a muscle contraction, we need the calcium to allow our muscle to relax. So we have to make sure we're getting enough of that. And I know that a lot of people know it comes from dairy, but if you don't want to do the dairy or can't, you could get it from dark green leafy vegetables. And then here, I don't know how many are eating fish bones. That would come from like little fish that we might eat. Anchovies, sardines. I've had in our pandemic world here where I'm not shopping a lot, I've had some canned salmon, and that actually has some small bones in that as well. Even if you got canned tuna, it might have a couple. So that would have some calcium in it as well. All right, we'll move on so you don't get too bored of that. Foods that are high with electrolytes. And then the ones on the left are the foods that will allow the water to leave the body, right? And then the ones on the right are the foods that allow us to keep the water in the body. And I'm not saying the foods on the right we should never eat. If you're dehydrated, you probably do need a little extra salt. And I know like a lot of times when we get sick even, we could get a flu or a cold or something, and we're running a fever, we need extra water. But in order to use that water, you need a little extra salt as well. And that's one of the reasons they tell people who are sick, how about you have some soup? Because the soup does have salt in it plus water. So, and then also maybe like after you're exercising a lot, especially out in the heat, you're going to want to replenish not just water, but also the salt. Okay. And when we get down here closer to the bottom where you see these sport drinks, the most popular brand is Gatorade. What this really is, mostly water, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of salt. That is what a sport drink is. And that salt and the sugar actually help you absorb the water faster than if you were drinking plain water. So it's a great idea if you are dehydrated to have a sport drink, okay? But there's other alternatives, right? You could have a little salty food and regular water would do the same job as a Gatorade, right? If you had some maybe some quick pretzels, crackers, peanuts, and then a glass of water would do the same job. So I just want you guys to know what is in a sport drink. So you know we need to start thinking about when we eat or drink something, what are we actually putting in the body in terms of nutrients? And if we drank the Gatorade, it would be mostly water, a little bit of salt, and then maybe about 10% of it would be sugar. Okay, and that sugar actually helps speed up the absorption of water a little bit too. All right, so what kind of foods, you guys could verbally say this, what kind of foods are you guys getting that have the electrolytes in them, like potassium, magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, that help us lose water from the body? What kind of foods are you guys getting? I'll take a minute break here. You guys answer. Go ahead and say it verbally.
Well, I've been eating a lot of salmon and bread.
Okay, salmon and bread, good. Anybody else?
Bananas.
Very good. And that's a quick snack to bring with you too if you're running around all day, working or school. Just grab a banana, throw it in your backpack, and go.
Or your
Berries?
pancakes.
Well, what was that? Anybody eating the sweet potatoes since I've been talking about them all semester?
I've recently started eating sweet potatoes. I
How
used
do you
to
like
be, oh, I love them. I used to be scared to try them because of their color, but I think they're good.
How are you eating them?
I like them in the oven, like sliced really thin, and I spray it with a little bit of olive oil, and I sprinkle some um garlic salt and pepper, and I like them to get a little crunchy.
Mm-hmm. That sounds good.
Yeah, I like it like that, or like mixed in with other vegetables,
Mhm.
roasted in the oven.
Yeah, roasted. Any vegetable roasted tastes delicious in the oven, actually. My kids like French fries, so I make them homemade, and I do that with either sweet or regular, or even a mix. I cut them up, put a little salt and pepper, roast it in the oven, and they actually like it, right? They like that better than the fast food French fries.
Yeah, my niece loves sweet potatoes. She's 4.
And that's a great time to expose people, the kids, to healthy food so that they're used to it, right, when they're adults.
Yeah, sprinkle some
Anybody?
cayenne pepper on there and make them Cajun fries.
Oh, that's good. I actually tried that once with carrots. I sliced the carrot up to make it look like a really thin French fry, and I did the spicy rub. What is it? Cajun or cayenne pepper. It was pretty good. I
Yeah,
roasted it in
so
the
good.
yeah.
Also
Anybody?
Brussels sprouts roasted.
Brussels sprouts, great, great. And that's our combatant from holding too much water. So if we do have the excess salt, that's going to get rid of it, and then we're not going to have issues with the high blood pressure or bloating. Right? And that's a lot of too much salt. It does a lot of pressure on not only your heart but also your kidneys to try to get rid of that. We're going to do a lesson on fast food in a few weeks. One fast food meal could be anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams of sodium, and that's just one per day. So your body is working extra hard to get rid of that, and it needs a help from those electrolytes, on this side of the page. But just be sure to know that any fruit or vegetable, you're going to get that electrolytes to help. So the next time you do feel bloated, grab some of this stuff: berries, bananas, potatoes, oranges, and you'll feel a little bit better after eating that. Okay, let's move on. How much water should we drink? I have different ways of measuring it here. You could do ounces, cups, or liters. Is everybody hearing me okay?
Yes.
Okay. If you guys are hearing an echo, put your mic on mute until you're ready to talk. Because sometimes if everybody's mic on it, it'll cause you to hear an echo. How much water should I drink? I usually memorize it in cups. It seems to be the easiest for me, but you could do any of these. Cups would be 8-ounce cups. So anywhere within that range, you could go like 10 cups per day. The other way people sometimes measure it is whatever your weight is, Again, so let's say you weigh, I'm going to do easy math, you weigh 200 pounds, you'd want to drink half that in ounces, so 100 ounces if you were a 200-pound person. So there's ways to measure it. It is quite a bit. I have a normal water bottle with me, and it says it's 17 ounces of water. So I would literally have to drink about 5 of those per day to get what I need. And that's the minimum. As you can see a little bit lower here, we're going to want to drink more if we're sick, if we've had too much alcohol or caffeine, if you're on any kind of pain pill, any kind of prescription drug. I would encourage you to have more water to help flush that out, the byproducts of that out. If you are doing high protein supplements, because the protein supplements, if we eat more than we need, when we excrete the protein, it takes a lot of water out with it. So I think they say the same thing with creatine supplements. You got to do more water. If it's obviously hot and humid out, you're going to need more than these minimums. If you're in the sun, more than those minimums, you'll dehydrate very quickly. And then pregnant or people that are on their menstrual cycle will need more water too. If you're breastfeeding, you're going to need a lot of water when you're doing that. Oops, let me go back here. Okay. So for beverages, the book does have it broken down for men and women. I tend to ignore that more so because some of us women are bigger than men and some of us men are maybe smaller than women, but anywhere within those ranges, you're good. And just know if you don't think you're getting that amount, you could slowly start to increase it, but you're also going to get it from food. And if we look at this slide, you can see the produce has almost an entire produce, fruit or vegetable is almost entirely water. And then meat's a little bit less water, nuts and seeds, little to no water. Someone have a question?
Yeah, so you said that we can get water from like the foods and stuff that we drink, but you said also we're going to need more water if we're drinking a lot of caffeine. So
Yeah.
obviously coffee has water in it. So would you, like avid coffee drinkers, would you suggest that they drink more water even though they're getting it from coffee?
Yeah. My dad jokes with me all the time. He's almost 80, and I always tell him, you got to drink more water, Dad. You're not drinking enough. And he says, well, I drink my coffee. But I say usually for every 1 cup of coffee, have another 8-ounce glass of water. Because the caffeine acts as a diuretic, and it makes us urinate more water out than we would normally urinate out. So we're losing, even though the water's coming in with the coffee, we're also losing that water because of the diuretic of caffeine. And it's not terrible amount of loss, but I would definitely say you need a little bit more than those minimum recommendations if you're drinking coffee. Okay, so add an extra, and 8 ounces is really small, guys. It's maybe 2 gulps for most of us. Add a little extra if you're drinking the coffee. Same thing with alcohol. And again, I teach that drug and alcohol class, and one of the lessons we talk about how not to get drunk when you're drinking alcohol. But a good rule, just in terms of health, is for every alcoholic beverage you have to have a glass of water after that. So if you're going out and you're saying, oh, I'm going to drink a couple beers with my friends, have a beer, drink a bottle of water. Have a beer, drink a bottle of water. And you're going to not only feel better that night and the next morning, but you're healthier overall. You're not going to be dehydrated. And you've got even less risk of that, awful hangover that you might get from drinking way too much. So I'm not advocating drinking alcohol, but if you are going to do it, alternate with water. It's going to help you out a ton. All right. My dad drinks a ton of coffee, and he gets dehydrated a lot. And one of the outcomes is kidney stones. Did you ever hear of people getting those? And yeah, when we get dehydrated, we're at a higher risk of kidney stones because our kidney needs water to filter out any impurities in our body. And so if it's not getting enough, then it is more at risk of forming stones when it's doing its work. So that's a good way to prevent that. Amongst other issues, water is just so important. Highest content of fruit and vegetables. My guess would be watermelon. But I guess tomatoes and strawberries actually beat out watermelon. But you can see how much of these products is just water. It's a lot. So if you can't get to the water, or like some of our kids, maybe they run a fever, you just don't feel like drinking the plain water, you could do like grapes, berries to replenish that. Popsicles even. So problems of too little water in our body, you can see all this. You could eventually die if you don't have enough water. That's the unfortunate end result. And it does happen in Chicago. Gosh, it's right around this time of year. It's not happening so much due to COVID, but I always hear these football players going back to practice in August and September, and they're exercising in really extreme heat and humidity, and they get so dehydrated. It's unfortunate, but I hear stories every year of somebody dying from that. Heat illnesses, right? That's the extreme. We also worry about that if you're sick, God forbid, if you got a flu or COVID. We've got to stay hydrated. That is your best defense in recovery if you are ill. Keep drinking not only the water, but those electrolytes, okay? You need salt and water, especially if you're sick, to let that do its job. I'm talking about so much water here, I'm thirsty. Give me a second. When we are dehydrated, the first couple things we'll feel, beside thirst, you're going to feel tired. And if you're like me, I absolutely hate feeling tired. So the first thing I do in the morning is I just guzzle a glass of water. It's probably more than 8 ounces. It's probably like double that. Because you've just gone so many hours without drinking. It'll help you wake up quicker just to drink that plain water. Does anybody else do that in the morning?
Yeah, I do that.
And that's good. And I do drink coffee after that. I do like my coffee. But it seems to help you wake up a bit. And then the other issue is a slower metabolism. We're not going to burn as many calories as we should if we're dehydrated. So what happens is if you go on one of these fad diets, a lot of times what they say is just drink more water at first and then cut your calories. For some of us that are dehydrated, it would be the truth to say, if you just started drinking more water, you'd probably lose a couple pounds. If you're somebody who thinks, oh, I don't drink that much water, there's no way. If you would just up your water intake a bit, you probably would lose a couple pounds. It's crazy to think that, but it is true. We could also get some headaches from not having enough water. All right, let's go to the other issue. Oh no, this is still problems of too little water. And this talks about if you're doing any drugs, to have a little extra. How to tell if you're dehydrated. If you're thirsty, you're dehydrated. And then this urine test. What we're looking for in terms of hydration is we want our urine to be like 1, 2, or 3. If the color of your urine is 4 or down, you're dehydrated. If your urine is coming out like color 8, I would go to the ER. I don't think that's any healthy whatsoever, but unfortunately, you would have some kidney issues with that one. Just so you know, it does talk about here, if you're on a supplement or drugs, this test doesn't work. It only works if we're free of drugs. Because sometimes, like, I know if I take my multivitamin with a B complex, it makes my urine turn a little bit darker, like 4 or 5. All right. Problems of too much water. Did you ever hear of this happening to anyone?
Yeah, I've heard of like an issue with sports players, as you were saying, with like they all drink a lot of like they drink water to stay hydrated. Actually, overhydration is like a larger cause of death for people because they think that they need to drink so much water to stay hydrated.
Yeah. And this is an issue with some athletes. And the key here is if they are going to increase their water, they have to increase their salt too. Because if you're profusely sweating, say you're a marathon runner, football player, and you're profusely sweating, you're losing salt too. You're not just losing water. So if the only thing you're replenishing is water, what's going to happen is you're going to get so diluted in your sodium level that you're going to die from hyponatremia, which is low sodium levels. That's really what these people are dying from. And the sodium is needed for our brain to work and our hearts to contract. So if we have no sodium in the body will die. So I encourage people who are profusely sweating, it's hot, it's humid, you're sick, don't just drink plain water. If you know you're dehydrated, put a little bit of salt back in your system at the same time, okay? And if we did that, if we had adequate electrolytes, the salt and those that help us lose water, we wouldn't even have to worry about this. It would, automatically we would be at a normal water balance. But if we're not replenishing the electrolytes in an appropriate manner or in equal manners, both the salt and the potassium, then we could run into problems. So it's a lot to think about, but just remember this. We need a little bit of salt every day, and we need to make sure we're eating our produce every day so that our electrolytes stay balanced and we have, a normal water level in our human body. All right. So I have a few slides here. I'm going to go quick and then ask you guys to talk about what beverages you have. I also have a couple of videos I want you to see. So let's say we were going to drink what I have on the screen here. We want to know what is in these products, okay? Do any of you right now have one of these beverages with you with a food label that's on it? I'll give you a second to respond. Anybody? Tell me what you guys have verbally.
I have like a Hello Smile water.
Okay. Anybody else?
Gatorade.
A Gatorade, good. I do want one of those to look at. Anybody else?
I have a Dasani water.
Okay. All right. So when I'm going through these slides, I'll talk quickly, but then I'm going to say, if you have one of these beverages, I want you to read the label. So the ingredient list to us, so we know what's actually in them. This is just regular tap water that you're getting out of your faucet. The government does put some minerals in the tap water, supposedly to help our health. So some of these minerals are added to the tap water. Now, if you have a bottled water, they may or may not have minerals added to it. You actually have to look, okay? And I know some cheap bottled water, what they were doing is just, getting tap water and putting it in plastic containers. That may be the case depending on what kind of bottled water you have. You have to read the source of it. So what we're getting with our tap water, plain water with a few minerals. With the bottled water, you may or may not be getting those minerals. Sport drinks. I talked about this briefly. This is what you would be getting. And I'll have a person talk on this in one moment. But if I was to drink a Gatorade, I'd be drinking water. About 8% of the container is simple carbohydrate, so the simple sugars. I'm also getting salt electrolytes, the sodium chloride, and then maybe a dye or a flavoring. With this sugar, let me talk on this for one moment. There's two purposes to having sugar in a Gatorade. One is the presence of sugar helps you absorb the water faster than if there was no sugar in the water. So, the one point of drinking a Gatorade is to get water in quickly. If I add a little sugar to water, I'm going to get it in quicker. The second purpose of having the simple sugar is to replenish your muscle glycogen. So if you are exercising for more than 45 minutes, chances are your muscle glycogen is depleted. And your fuel would then be left to your body fat if you had that. But in order to use body fat, we have to lower our intensity, so we can't work as hard. So the Gatorade was actually developed to allow athletes to work at high intensities for more than 45 minutes. So 45 minutes, we're out of our muscle glycogen. So the coaches give the athletes the Gatorade, they're going to drink it, get a lot of simple sugar. That sugar goes in as muscle glycogen. Now our muscles have fuel again. Gatorade was developed in Florida. I think it's the University of Florida, and that's why it's called Gatorade, because I think University of Florida, correct me if I'm wrong, the name of their team is the Gators, and they called it Gator for the sport team and aid to help. All right, who has the Gatorade? Tell me your name again. I cannot see my Collaborate screen right now. So tell me your name and then tell me the ingredients on that.
Jamaria.
Okay, Jamaria, what is the ingredients on that? And what flavor do you have?
I have the mini blue cherry flavor.
Okay.
Well, it has 80 calories. And you said the ingredients, right?
Yes, please.
Water, sugar, dextrose, citric acid, natural and artificial flavor, salt, sodium. Yeah, and I don't really know how to pronounce the rest of these things. Mono, potassium, phosphate, modified food starch. And that's it. Oh, and then
Okay.
it says blue one for the flavor, I guess, for the color.
Yeah, that's the dye.
Yeah.
And that acid is a flavoring. That's
Okay.
how it tastes that way. And the rest seem to be the sugar and
Yeah.
the words you can't pronounce. I'm thinking they are. I probably can't pronounce them either. They're probably added minerals like that potassium and all that.
Yeah, the
Um,
mono potassium phosphate.
yeah, that's added minerals to the beverage so that you're getting your electrolytes. So hopefully now, Jamaria, thank you. You
You're welcome.
know what you're taking in when you guys are drinking Gatorade, right? Water, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of electrolytes, and that dye and flavoring. Okay. Um, does anybody have a Gatorade that doesn't have sugar? They call them, I keep forgetting the name. G4 maybe? Did you ever hear of that? Or G2? Anybody? Let me look it up. Anybody hear these before? Help me out.
Yeah, I've heard of the ones that have no sugar. I forgot the name of them, but let me go check and see if I have one.
Here's one says Gatorade Zero.
Yeah, that's the one that I get. Gatorade Zero.
Okay. So what you would be getting is exactly what I have on the screen, except minus the carbohydrate. So if we take that out, you're not getting that secondary source of muscle glycogen. So all it's going to do is help with your water replenishing. You're not going to get that extra energy boost you might need after 45 minutes of exercise. So you understand that. Um, I actually keep both in my household. We only use it in the summertime. If it's really hot out, then I will give one to my husband when he goes to work in the morning. He's construction, so he works outside. And I tend to give him the one without the carbs. And then I talked to you guys about I had two kids, and one of them basically has no body fat. So I like to have that one that has the sugar in it when he's playing his basketball, baseball games. Because after about an hour or so, if he runs out of muscle glycogen, he's done. He wouldn't be able to keep competing. So, if needed, I would have this extra source of fuel for him to keep playing. All right, let's go on to our energy drinks. You've heard of these guys before: Monster, Red Bull, things like that. What you're getting predominantly is not too far off from a sport drink here. You're getting water, you're getting simple sugar, and then the big one is caffeine. So you're getting that stimulant drug. Okay. They typically will add some vitamins and they always add B's. And I find this amazing. I think it's just a marketing ploy. The function of B vitamins um, is to change macronutrients into energy. So it's going to change a carbohydrate into, it helps change it into fuel or ATP in the body. So I think when they put in the B's, they're going to say, oh, it helps you with, more energy. But it really doesn't give you any more energy by putting in the B vitamins. But I think they just do that to kind of get people to believe that it's going to give you energy, an energy drink. Same thing here, dye, flavoring, and typically an amino acid they'll put in there. This is what you're getting in energy drinks. There's so many nowadays. I can't tell you exactly what's in each one. This is just a general overview. But why would you feel like you had more energy after drinking a Monster or Red Bull? What do you guys think? Do you feel like you have more
Sugar?
energy?
The sugar.
Yeah,
I do.
it's the sugar and one other thing beside the sugar, the caffeine. I always think another alternative to an energy drink would be a cup of coffee with sugar in it. There's your energy drink. That's really the same thing. Costs a lot less though. People were having trouble with energy drinks. If we drank too much of it, you could actually get sick. There were a couple instances where people that had high blood pressure or had some cardiac risk factors were drinking too much and were actually causing them to have like mini cardiac episodes, not necessarily a cardiac arrest, but similar to that because they were having way too much caffeine. I mean, you cannot drink these things like water and think that you're going to feel okay. The other issue, you probably heard of this, is you go out to a bar or a club and they're mixing vodka in or alcohol into the energy drink. And the problem with this is, caffeine's a stimulant, alcohol's a depressant. So your heart doesn't know what to do. Should I speed up? Should I slow down? And sometimes it just doesn't beat normally. And I have some friends that work at Loyola. They say every weekend they get a case in the ER where a person had too many of these energy drinks with alcohol and end up there. So be careful of those, okay, guys? All right, I'm going to talk. Does anybody have an energy drink before I move on? Is there beverage of choice that they brought with them today? All right, then we'll move on to soda. This one, I would say, is one of my evil foods. Somebody have a comment or question?
Yeah, I actually have like a kind of water that I wanted to ask you about.
Okay, let's do your water first, and then we'll get back to soda. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about it.
So the only thing it really has in it is like carbohydrates, which is 4%,
Mm-hmm.
fiber 5 grams.
Wow.
But the one thing is erythral sugar, and I'm always so concerned about it. What exactly is that?
Wait, can you spell that for me? I'm gonna type it into my computer real quick. Spell it for me.
It's
Yeah.
ERYTHRITOL.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up. I think it's an artificial sugar.
It's been something recent. It's like in the bi-5s too, I noticed.
It's a chemical compound, a sugar alcohol used as a sugar substitute. They make it from corn. So I think it's a kind of artificial sugar.
So is it technically like worse than like the white sugar and the white processed sugar?
Yeah, it does say man-made sweetener made since the 1990s. Personally, I, as a professional nutritionist, would recommend you using real sugar rather than artificial sugar.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, there's been, there's no definitive answer out there. I think the food companies really don't want us to know the answer to that question, but I've read some stuff where it says that that it actually could raise your set point. We'll learn about that. It'll raise the amount of weight your brain thinks you should be if you're drinking or eating artificial sugar. So you'd actually weigh more than you should. And it's a chemical that kind of tricks your brain. The other problem I have with artificial sugar is if we talked about the blood glucose story, and all along when we talk about glucose getting into the bloodstream, it's real glucose, it's real carbohydrate. And then when that is elevated, insulin is released to take care of the elevated sugar. If we're doing artificial sugar, the body thinks it's real and it secretes insulin. But in all reality, there's no extra glucose around. So you've got this insulin in the body without potentially, if you hadn't eaten, without high levels of glucose, and you could actually go into that hypoglycemia or low blood glucose condition because the insulin is ready to clear out glucose, but it's not really there, you know? That would occur if you were drinking a beverage with artificial sugar, but not eating any food with that. So, I think it's really worse than table sugar. I would much rather you, especially if you're a coffee drinker, put a spoon of sugar rather than the artificial sweetener in your drink. I have nothing good to say about artificial sweeteners. And you guys could look that up. Maybe somebody's even interested in doing that.
I feel the same way.
Go
Like
ahead.
whatever you're telling me, I feel like just like the same way as you do about it.
Yeah. 1 teaspoon of real sugar, it does not. Somebody looked that up on your computers. How many calories are in 1 teaspoon of sugar? It's not that much. But, you could clear that out in a second compared to the chemicals you're putting in.
16 calories?
Yeah, you could clear that out breathing 16 calories. And it's much better to do that than risk with the chemicals that we know are kind of playing tricks on our brain. I watched a movie one time. I have to get you guys the name of it. Usually I watch a movie in my classroom with you guys. And they were talking about how this girl was drinking artificial sugar, diet sodas all day long, and she was getting depressed and she just didn't feel good overall. There's some evidence that it even might increase the risk of cancers. So what you see on my screen now, it's side effects of diet soda, or that would be that fake sugar. And so with these, I do have references where I've got these information in the PowerPoint, but here's some references on it. With artificial sugar, we have the risk for all these other things here as well. And talking about soda in general, probably worse for diet soda, but it does kidney damage, and I think that's really, really overlooked when we discuss soda. People know it has calories, and they probably figure, well, if I drink a lot of soda, I might get overweight. That might have implications for diabetes. But too much soda not only increases your risk of diabetes, it increases your risk of heart disease and then kidney damage. I'm astounded that I didn't know this till probably 10 years ago, but most people don't realize you can get that fatty liver and cirrhosis of the liver from soda just as much as we could get it from alcohol. And I think most people think, oh, fatty liver or cirrhosis, they must drink a lot of booze, but it could be just from the soda even. And if you look that up in a research, you would be shocked at the amount of reports that we have knowing this already. And here's some negative side effects of soda. What we're getting in soda is a lot of sugar. We'll put it that way. You're getting your water, a lot of sugar. Hopefully it's real sugar, not the fake sugar. And then some acids and carbonation. Okay. Some have caffeine, like Coke or Pepsi. And then here's the side effects. It's a huge list. And I just want to point out that liver damage is something that occurs. We're going to watch a couple of videos now about soda and the increased health issues that we have, even from drinking 1 or 2 drinks per day. Does anybody have soda as their beverage that they brought with them today? No. Before I get to those videos on soda, let's finish up here with juice and milk. So the juice, you're going to get water and sugar. Now, they're not all created equal, right? Like something on the left here, this Minute Maid Kids orange juice. I've bought that for my kids before because it's basically like taking a vitamin mineral supplement. It's got vitamin A, B, C, D, E, calcium. So it's kind of like a liquid vitamin mineral supplement with the orange in it, okay? So we're getting simple carbohydrate and we're getting vitamins and minerals. Now, compare that to Hawaiian Punch. All you're going to get here is water and simple carbs, and quite a bit of simple carbs. If I was to estimate where my cursor, I don't know if you see my cursor here, right where this label begins on the bottom, this and down would all be sugar if we were to look at it from the standpoint of how much of it is sugar, how much is water. You know, it would probably be close to a cup of sugar if you were to drink this beverage. All right, and then milk. What are your guys' thoughts on milk? Should we be drinking it or not? I'll take a break and listen to what you have to say.
Not
Anybody?
anymore.
Not anymore?
Yeah, I feel like it's just so processed nowadays that like it's just like not even worth.
I'll be
Yeah.
drinking almond milk now.
You drink almond milk?
Yeah, that's the only milk I drink now.
Uh-huh. Well, I think it's important for us to know what's in the beverage and then decide, right? If we don't know what's in something, we can't make an educated decision of should I drink or eat this. So once we can identify what it is, then we can say, do I want to drink this? Right? Is it something that's going to help me in terms of health, or is it something that's going to make it worse in terms of health? So if we looked at milk, we're getting water, we're getting simple carbohydrate, we're getting fat, the nutrient fat, and that depends on what type. Whole milk has this, it has saturated fat in it. The 2 and 1%, it does have saturated fat, but a less amount in terms of grams, less amount of fat. I believe skim milk doesn't have any saturated fat. So the skim milk, you'd be getting water and simple carb. Milk does have some protein. It does have some minerals, calcium and vitamin D. And I think that that's why, you know, certain groups, certain lobbying groups even, they have a dairy association. They try to tell the government it's a healthy food. You should tell your people to drink it, right? It's got calcium and D, which we need both. Very important to have calcium and D. It's got protein in it, right? It's got all 3 macronutrients, carbs, fat, and protein. So we know what's in it. All right. Now, those of you that said there's too much processing going on, if you're not getting organic milk, you are going to be ingesting hormones and antibiotics. And that is something I want to avoid. I don't like the fact that there's growth hormones given to the cows so that they grow more and make more milk. I don't like that antibiotics are given to the cows so they don't get sick. It's not that they give antibiotics to sick cows. They give it to all the cows so they don't get sick, which is shocking to me. So if you're drinking the non-organic milk, you are getting those things. I don't know what that could potentially do to a little body, right? To a kid's body. Are our kids growing bigger or getting puberty faster than we did when we were their age? That's a question I have. I don't have the answer. When I was at Cornell University this summer, our teacher, you know, pointed out the fact that they believe that the hormones and antibiotics in animal products is making us bigger people, reaching puberty at ages below 10. So we have to think, where is this stuff coming from? Where is the hormones and antibiotics coming from? I'm going to pause because I think someone has a comment.
Yeah, I actually do, about like the whole antibiotics and eating it throughout your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So like my previous teacher, her mom actually passed away because like there was no antibiotic that could save her from her disease, because like throughout her lifetime she just consumed so much antibiotics from like food, and plus like doctors overprescribing antibiotics that like
Yeah.
nothing was just able to save her at the end.
Yeah. So antibiotic resistance is real and it's scary. It happened to me about 5 years ago. I got strep throat it was going around my kids' school. And I had to take 5 doses of antibiotics to get one of them to work. It was scary because this strep was not going away. And so we do have antibiotic resistance. If you guys think this is an interesting topic, you could do it for your paper, but look into it. Where is it coming from? And I'm sorry, who was just speaking?
Patty.
Patty. you are correct in saying it's overuse of prescription drugs and it's in our food system. And I can't tell you which is more prevalent to cause the resistance, but both of them are causing it. Both of them for sure are causing antibiotic resistance because those bacteria, once they're exposed to and around antibiotics, they try to figure out a way to survive it, right? And they change their structure. And most nutritionists that I've spoken with are going to tell us avoid eating animal products that you know has antibiotics in it, that we're given that. The way we do that is organic. That's it. You know, if you're eating a conventional dairy product or meat, you have antibiotics in that. If you're eating a organic product, then it doesn't have the hormones or antibiotics. So you've got to weigh your pros and cons. Organic food is expensive. It is. But maybe an alternative is to eat non-animal foods. You don't have to have meat and animal products every day. We go a couple days a week with just beans, nuts, even soy products for dinner, tofu. And my family doesn't really notice it that much. Like if I make a chili, it's a vegetarian chili. I make a lot of Asian food. I will do like vegetable stir fries with some, maybe even some lentils or something. But so think of it in moderation. We don't have to give up everything. And, you know, if you do like to drink milk, you know what's in it. Can you weigh your options of getting organic dairy product versus non-organic in terms of cost? My kids absolutely love milk, so I only get them the organic milk. I do only buy the organic milk. Now, I'm not rich, I'm a teacher, but that's one thing that I will be willing to spend extra money on. I don't buy organic meats because I can't afford that. But as far as the dairy product goes, I do try to get the organic dairy product. Is there another comment or question, guys? All right, so you know what's in milk. I want to show you. You can read this slide for a minute. I'm going to show you a couple videos that my students typically like a lot, and they are about soda. Here is one short video about the impact of soda on the body, and then I have another cartoon to show you.
A new study takes aim at sugar. Researchers say the sugar added to processed food doesn't just put on weight, it lowers good cholesterol and increases the risk of heart disease. And as we know, young Americans get 13% of their calories from sweetened drinks. So we wondered, can we see the effect of a soda on your body? Yunji Denise went to a lab to find out.
We went to the University of Pennsylvania Rotabog Diabetes Center. First, they attached a device under my skin and inserted an IV, both to monitor glucose levels in my blood.
Cheers.
With an empty stomach, I drank 20 ounces of cola, about the same amount the average American drinks in a day. When you buy a soft drink, you're mostly getting water. Next, add a lot of sugar and a little bit of flavor. But that sugar, usually cheaper corn syrup, consists of 45% glucose and 55% fructose. Glucose is more quickly turned into energy, but fructose, which is sweeter, can be more quickly turned into fat. When the glucose hits my bloodstream, my pancreas immediately begins making insulin to balance the sugar rush and help turn it into fuel. My glucose level started at 79 and then shot up rapidly because I'd essentially downed 16 teaspoons of sugar. The American Heart Association recommends that a woman like me consume just 6 teaspoons in an entire day. Drinking too many sugary sodas increases the risk of obesity, which is linked to diabetes, heart attack, and stroke.
So 40 minutes later, we're up to 107.
Mhm.
What does that tell us?
This is where the pancreas is really starting to do its maximal work.
Now I'm at 111, so it goes fast.
So it's, yep.
At the same time, the fructose heads straight to my liver. The liver turns some of it into fuel and the excess into fat. While it is a point of contention, there is research on sugar intake that suggests the fat ends up as belly fat, the kind implicated in heart disease and even cancer. Doctors say if you drink 2 bottles a day, that can add up to a pound a week.
Pound a
A
week.
pound a week, right.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
That goes fast.
That does go fast.
The beverage industry says all this is a normal metabolic response to eating any food, but dismissed our test as totally unscientific. They say sodas in moderation can be part of a balanced diet. But the next time you take a sip, consider the sugar, taking your body on an insulin roller coaster and potentially adding a whole lot of unnecessary calories. Yaji Denise, ABC News, Philadelphia.
I want to show you. You can hear me again? Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
In my learning module, again, we have 2 this week. We have learning module 5 on water and then learning module 6 on the food plate. I want to just show you in learning module 5 a couple of articles if you're interested. One is from the Harvard University, the link of soft drinks with diabetes and heart disease. This article here talks about soda and how it causes cardiovascular disease. And then this one, 2 soft drinks a day could lead to liver damage. So you guys could read those if you're interested. You know, the beverage company does not want you to know the risks involved with drinking soda. They want you to think that it's normal and that everybody's doing it. It makes them a ton of money. Share this one video. It's called The Real Bears. Share it with someone you know. Maybe they drink soda. It's really cute video, but it makes a huge impact on your thought about the damage of soda. So let's watch this and then we'll talk for a few minutes.
Sugar, sugar, I wanna make you happy. Like the sun you shine, you brighten up a gray day. Sugar, sugar, so good, so good. Sugar. Sugar, sugar, you really make me happy. I get to feeling high, I wanna shout it from the mountainside. Sugar, you're so good, so good. Sugar. Now is the time to live your life without fuss. Because, sugar, because now is the only time there ever was that you could make life sweet. You could, sugar, sugar. I wanna make you happy. I wanna give you the good love. I wanna give you a bear hug. Sugar, you're so good. Sugar.
Sugar, 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 please be happy, cause you know I'm sweet on your smile, I believe in ya. Sprinkle the lips with your incredible kisses. You make me wanna more, take a swim with the fishes. Spoonful of, mix the medicine, go down, go down. Sugar, sugar, live when, live wide, live right, live high, live now.
Now is the time to live your life without fuss. Because, sugar, because now is the only time there ever was that you can make life sweet. You could, sugar, sugar. Life is like a melody. It has its ups and its downs. Only you can save me. Sugar, you're so good. sugar. Oh, the power's in your head. You can have it. Oh, you can have it all. You can live a long, long time. The power's in your clothes. The power's in your clothes. The power's in your clothes.
Okay, what did you think about that? Did you guys like that video or did you fall asleep? Share it with someone you know, because most people really enjoy watching that, and it kind of opens their eyes up to the dangers of sugary beverages. All right, so here's kind of a quick summary of what we learned today. If we're working out and exercising or playing sports, every 15 minutes we should probably have a little bit of water, just a sip or so. Tells you drink it in the morning, drink it when you're feeling thirsty. All we really need is water. If you want one of those other beverages, know what's in it before you choose to drink that. And then it's okay if it's like 1 glass of milk, organic milk, or 1 glass of juice. If you're doing it for a healthy reason. I'm not going to say you can never have soda again or never have beer again or something to that effect. But it should be more or less like a treat rather than something you're doing every day, right? And so with the soda, once in a while, it's okay, but we cannot be doing that every day if we expect to be healthy. All right. Now, back to the class here. We do have. I'm just checking the chat room real quick. We do have our next lesson being on food labels and food groups. So what I want you to do for Thursday, bring a food label. Most of you are probably in your house as it is, but have next to you a food label of a food that you have and you typically eat in your house. Because we're going to learn how to read the labels, the serving size, how many calories, and then the ingredient list as well, what is actually in the food. So we did a little bit about that today with beverages. We want to do more of that with foods on Thursday. So bring a food label with the ingredient list. And then we're going to do assignment on food groups in class Thursday. You don't have to do anything between now and then. We'll do it in class. So there are 2 learning modules this week. So we're doing 5 and 6. There is a quiz and a discussion, I believe, in each one of them. I'm just going to double check. There's a quiz and discussion for the learning module 5 on beverages. And then there is a discussion and quiz for the food label. All right, I'm going to stick around for a little bit. If anybody has questions or comments on water, and if you came in after I took attendance, raise your hand and I will mark you down. Otherwise, the rest of you guys could go and have a good day. Okay, Victoria, I have you. Joe Sean, I have you. Let's see. Laura, I have you. Amelia, I got you already. Melissa, I have you already. Everyone have a good day. I'll see you Thursday. Let's see. David, I have you. Okay. Thank you, Laura. You too. Have a great day. Thanks, David. Have a good day. Any other questions, guys? Okay, I'm going to sign out. Have a good day. I'll talk to you guys later.